Do music libraries make some sort of song screening process before they deploy them into their catalog? For example, if samples are cleared for commercial use or if there's any infringement issues, etc. Yeah. Is there a formal process for that? Usually not. A lot of times libraries will obviously listen to your music from start to finish. If it's a full album, they will listen to everything. But I don't know if there's necessarily like a software program that they run it through to try to detect, are these cleared samples? In the future, we'll probably have something like that. But right now, usually what it is, it's happened a couple times actually with some opportunities we did with the syndicate where one syndicate member for a library opportunity we put together, he had a vocal sample, and the way it got caught was just by a matter of like sort of coincidence that the owner of the library we were submitting to happened to be a fan of this artist and was like, that sounds like a really, I know that vocal sample, and he figured it out that it was actually, I think, like a James Brown vocal sample. So I asked the syndicate member, hey, you're using a James Brown vocal sample in your track and you are not allowed to do that. And he said, well, I got it from a website and they gave me these vocal packs, and it was said it was cleared for commercial use. And that's when I made a lot of these videos probably 2 years ago where I was like, be super careful on where you get your samples, because anybody these days can put up a blog spot or a Shopify or whatever, all these websites where you can create a store. They can type up an end user license agreement that means nothing, and they can literally just steal unauthorized samples, put them in a zipped folder, and sell them to you for $100. And if you're the next sucker that buys it, he's not that person. That person could just shut down his website and he's gone. It's happened so many times, right? And you're left holding the bag going, well, I have this end user license agreement and I thought I could use these samples. That's why going with reputable companies that have been around for a long time, that have a track record of being there, is so much better than if you go to a website that looks like it was kind of created yesterday and it doesn't look very complete and I don't know what's going on here. You got to be careful out there. So be really, really aware of that. But in terms of a library screening it, pretty much they just use their ears as far as I'm aware of. They're just going to be listening for it and trying to see if they hear anything that sounds a little too familiar, that kind of thing. And a lot of times, it's one thing I want to make sure you guys are clear on. Libraries will have an indemnification clause, meaning holding themselves not liable if you put unauthorized samples in your music. So that's a very common thing in a lot of library contracts, and that's how they have to protect themselves. So that means that if you put unauthorized samples in your music and you think, well, if we get in trouble, it's on the library because they distributed it. Not if you have that indemnification clause in your contract. It's all on you. And if you have a nice car and a nice house and nice things and you committed copyright infringement and somebody's coming after you, lawyer up. You're going to have a really, really tough time having to defend that. And if you say, well, I bought it from a website and they told me I could use it, not really a great defense. It's really, ignorance of the law again, or, being duped essentially like that. Yeah, you might have one more person to point the finger at, but at the end of the day, you put that sample in your music and you're going to be held liable for it. So this is why this is no joke. I mean, really, really be careful about where you get your samples from. Really, really important.